you ready for the vacuum special?
The Heinemann abhors a vacuum.
Oh, Jamie, I know how much you love riddles, and so it's riddle time. Here goes. What sucks but does not suck?
Vacuums.
That's right. How did you know that so fast?
We just did that opener with model trains and a vacuum cleaner.
Fair enough. Okay, this is a story that has been on our books since literally we started collecting myths. We've just never tackled it because it always seemed like it was too big for us to tackle.
Just get on with it.
All right, it involves something that's the opposite of one of our favorite things. The opposite of an explosion is an implosion.
Go on.
All right, there's a guy. He's tasked with cleaning out one of those tanker cars on a train that holds liquid, and he's using a steam cleaner. So he's steam cleaning the whole thing, and of course, as he's doing that, he's warming it up. And it starts to rain. So he caps off the tanker car and walks away. The cooling rain causes the steam to contract, and as the myth goes, the train car crushes itself.
From a vacuum.
Exactly.
That is big. Those train cars they're huge.
I know.
After more than a decade of detonations, totaling over 900 explosions, for the first time, the MythBusters are tackling an implosion. And to do justice to this impressive long-running record,
This is gonna be cool.
they'll be focusing an entire episode on this one supersized story.
I mean, look at this. It's going to be the biggest productions we've ever undertaken on this show.
Causing vacuum violence on a massive, unprecedented scale.
It's gotta go!
But first, some shop-sized science.
An imploding tanker car. How could this happen? Tanker cars are giant, 70 feet long, 15 feet high, thick steel casing meant to contain things like fuel, even in case of a derailment. How could something like that spontaneously implode and crush itself? Well, if it did, in fact, happen, it had to do with pressure and pressure differential. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me show you with this metal can. If I take this thin metal can and seal it, and then hook a vacuum pump up to it and start pumping air out, we understand what will happen. It will crush itself. Whoops. But how could something like that happen without the action of an outside vacuum pump? Well, let me show you. Now, I'm about to perform a critical action in this experiment, and that is to take a little bit of the hot water and pour it into the can. Because in the original myth, the tanker car had been steam cleaned inside and out. Now, I'm about to initiate an implosion. First thing I do is cap the can. Now, fully capped, this vessel was full of steam and air that was heated to its boiling point. Now, that air is rapidly cooling. As it's cooling, they're creating a negative pressure inside the can.
Yep, and that's the whole ballgame. A difference in pressure. Filling the container with steam pushes out the air. But if the vessel is sealed while it's still hot, and then allowed to cool, the steam condenses, and the internal pressure drops, meaning the now much greater external pressure pushes in on the surface. And that's bad news for the can.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Oh, it's actively moving. Look at that. I'm doing this with my mind. In case you were wondering, this is all telekinesis.
Mind games aside, the scientific principle is clearly sound. Now, it's just a question of scale. Can steam cleaning produce a pressure differential that would cause a giant steel train tank to crush?
The two sides have actually met over here.
To answer that, Adam and Jamie will learn as much as they can and slowly build up to the industrial-sized mythical implosion.
Yep, it's generating some steam.
But first, does faster cooling make a difference?
Go. Burner off. Now, I want you to cool, and I want you to cool rapidly. I'm gonna use the coldest thing I know, and that is a CO2 fire extinguisher. Here we go. Woo. That was much more spectacular. Look at that. So there you have it, a little proof of concept of how a sealed vessel can crush itself with just the application of a little heat and a little cold. That sound, if ants had a Latin rhythm section, that's what it would sound like. But it's a very different thing to crush a flimsy metal can versus something meant to hold pressure and meant to be very durable. And I think I've got just the thing to experiment on.
We're going to ramp things up quite a bit to this 55-gallon drum, which not only has steel walls that are many times thicker, but also structurally it's much stronger because it's round and it's got these ribs. So it'll present much more of a challenge.
All right, now we just wait for it to boil.
For this first test, we're just going to heat the water up until it's boiling vigorously. Then we'll seal it up, turn off the heat, let it cool, stand back and see what happens.
Sealing it up. There we go.
Now that it's sealed, a pressure differential can develop, and the wait begins for the steam to cool and condense.
That kind of makes me nervous.
If this sturdy steel barrel collapses, confidence will be high that the full-scale tank car can also crumple.
How long did it take the little cans to crush?
Those crushed very, very quickly.
I'd imagine they're not structurally near as strong.
No. I think it's going to be one big catastrophic kind of thunk. It's going to sound like hitting it with a baseball bat. Whoa! What's really cool about this is we heard a couple of bings and bunks at the beginning. This is killing me. But right now, this thing hasn't made any noise in 15 minutes. But what I know is happening inside there is that it's cooling, and that steam is reverting back to water, and it's creating low pressure in there, which is pulling the sides in. They're resisting that because of their structural integrity, but at a certain point, I expect the outside casing to fail, and it should be pretty spectacular. Next time we hold the camera up with magnet. Whoa!
There you go.
Wow!
You could feel that.
Woo! That was so cool.
I could feel that in my chest.
Yeah, well,
which
I'm
is
not
weird.
sure if that's just my heart leaping out of my throat because of the... That was amazing.
It was a nerve-shredding display of power. When water vapor is cooled, it can cause a strong steel drum to completely crumple.
Wow.
Made a circle into a triangle.
It did.
There's clearly a lot of potential in this one simple process.
Wow!
And an ominous sign of the full-scale potential. But Adam isn't ready to move on. Before they can tackle the supersized tank car, he wants to know exactly how much negative pressure they're dealing with.
This time we're going to do the same test again, but we're going to have a vacuum pressure gauge attached so that we can actually monitor what that pressure is. We will also be timing how long it takes to cool down and monitoring the temperature with an external thermocouple. That's a fancy way of saying thermometer. All right, it's bouncing between 193, 195. We'll be logging all of this data as this thing cools down, builds its negative pressure. Okay, timing starts now. And the vacuum gauge is already moving. That's awesome. And eventually crushes, in the hopes that we'll be able to apply what we learn here to a full-size thing eventually.
Yep, and because
The only difference between screwing around and science is writing it down.
Adam plots the increase in negative pressure measured in mercury
So right now it's just at 3 inches of mercury.
against time and temperature.
6 inches Hg.
How much of a vacuum will crush the can is unknown. But quantifying the failure point is the first step to understanding the process.
Look, we're not exactly sure what we're looking for in this. We're just trying to get to understand the process. So very consistent 2.5 degrees per minute. I like linear data.
I'm partial to exponential curves myself.
So the more data we gather from this as it cools down and eventually crumples, the better equipped we are to deal with contingencies out there in the field. Oh! Whoa! That was just at 16 inches of mercury.
It's interesting that they're consistently forming triangles, but it kind of makes sense because it's the strongest form that it could crush to. These implosions are fascinating. There's a slow, intense buildup of the pressure differential, and with no warning. But what did we learn? Well, it took 8 minutes for the steam to cool, which dropped the pressure to minus 16 inches of mercury. Considering that 30 inches of mercury is a full vacuum, that's significant.
Cool sounds.
And that's just from heating a little water in the drum. What happens when we introduce a high-powered steam cleaner into the equation?
Temperature's climbing fast.
Coming up on MythBusters.
That is awesome.
Not only is this
Without a doubt, one of my favorite small-scale experiments we've ever done. Oh!
the story is on track to be the biggest logistical challenge they've ever tackled.
Holy
Pressure vessels and pressure differential are familiar themes the MythBusters hold dear to their physics-loving hearts. And in this one-story episode, they're investigating a monumental implosion.
This is gonna be cool.
Can condensing steam really cause a supersized freight train tank car to crash?
Oh! Wow!
This is great. We are gathering data, we're learning stuff, we're moving forward. Oh! Whoa! 16 inches of mercury. But the most important part about this right now is that the original tanker truck had apparently been steam cleaned prior to the implosion incident. Therefore, we're gonna move on to another 55-gallon drum, but this time we're dispensing with the burner and the boiling water, and we're gonna steam clean it in advance.
Okay, here we go.
Go for it.
We're gonna try and get its temperature up
150.
and a lot of steam in there before we cap it and see if we can initiate another crushing incident.
170. Temperature's climbing fast.
Will the high-pressure steam cleaner make a difference?
All right. Sealing at 203.
It seems so. This crucial component of the mythical mishap has raised the starting temperature by 10 degrees. Consequently, it's taking longer for the steam to cool and condense,
So much tension.
and the negative pressure to build.
16 minutes.
Whoa!
Ooh. That gets you every time.
Whew, that is a heck of a rush. That was 17 and a half.
There was a greater pressure differential.
Oh, yeah.
It took twice as long to implode. And appeared more violent.
It's actually collapsing a lot more than the other one did.
I think we put more energy in the system with a higher temperature and the steam.
Yep, more heat means the steam has more kinetic energy, and faster water molecules create more pressure.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that. That is completely crushed.
So when the steam condensed in the capped container, the eventual pressure differential was greater. And the drum took even more of a beating.
If you fill one of these 55-gallon drums with water, they weigh over 400 pounds, so they're really quite strong. But in the presence of the vacuum, the way that we're applying it, they crumple like a soda can in your hands. So it gives you an idea of what kind of forces are at play here.
Here, check this out. That's the previous test. That's the current test. See how much smaller this one was crushed? It's a lot more energy. That was awesome. Can I say it? That was a barrel of fun. Actually, by the time we were done, I'd say it was about a third of a barrel. Here's what I feel like we have learned so far. We have learned that a higher starting temperature equals a more vigorous reaction. Clearly, when we go to full scale on this, we're gonna want the highest possible starting temperature, and that might be maybe the most difficult part of replicating this story.
But behind the scenes, problems are afoot.
Okay, keep very quiet. We don't often show you this part of the show, but this is where the magic happens. This is our production office, and those are our producers that find the impossible to find stuff that Jamie and I need to use in episodes. This is the team that has found us things like a 747, RPGs, or calling the FAA to get us permission to drop a car from a helicopter. But right now, this might very well be mission implosion impossible, but we'll give them a couple more days. So what is it we need exactly? Well, obviously a tank car, one that's been decommissioned and yet is still structurally sound. That's hard enough, but we also need a place to implode it. That implies tracks to run it on and a location remote enough that we can safely control that implosion involving millions of pounds of force and thousands of pounds of steel without hurting any people or infrastructure. And the two of those together are the reason we have never tackled this myth before.
With the production office facing long odds and a short deadline, Jamie and Adam get busy drumming up more data.
So what else can these barrels tell us that'll help us out in the field? Well, shape and geometry are critical when it comes to pressure vessels. And so we're going to build a more accurate scale version of our tank car cylinder and see what difference that makes.
Will the elongated cylinder of an accurately scaled tank car crush more or less easily? To find out, Jamie has been busy welding while Adam whips up some wooden wheels.
Almost there.
And gets back to his special effects roots.
Ooh, there we go.
I'm much happier when our experiments
Look the part.
awesome.
Moving ever closer to our goal of causing a fatal catastrophic implosion of a full-size tanker car, we have now built ourselves a scale tanker car. 4 55-gallon steel drums welded and sealed together. We're gonna hit it with a steam cleaner, bring the temperature up, cap it, and see how long it takes to implode and what we can learn from that. This is a very cool scale experiment.
As before, they simulate the steam cleaning process
Great for our skin.
until the temperature maxes out.
200.
Then they seal it up
All right, capping it up.
and resume their nerve-wracking wait.
Timer's going. Oh, hey! Oh, you can hear it boiling.
Oh,
You can totally hear it boiling. That's awesome.
I can't help but think that this would be weaker because of the lack of any bulkheads down the length of it.
Okay. 7 minutes in, we're at 11 inches of mercury. It's gonna be like a big steel set of hands clapping.
Yeah. It might well, you know, macaroni there, but
That would be so awesome. Oh, that was fantastic! Woo! Oh, that was fabulous! That is awesome! You were right, it was weaker. It failed at a lower negative pressure than the previous one.
Another spectacular implosion. The accurately scaled form failed faster and under less pressure.
That's just awesome.
Data that suggests this supersized myth is right on track.
That was awesome. I guess all we need now is a full-size tanker car.
Yeah, that'll be interesting seeing that happen to something 70 feet long,
That would be a hell of a thud.
if it happens.
Yeah. All right, let's go find one.
For over a decade, the MythBusters have traveled to incredible and expansive locations to carry out their investigations.
Good to see you. Welcome to the White House.
They've managed supersized logistical operations of massive proportions.
Ladies and gentlemen, 70,000 feet.
But in this extended, in-depth story, they're tackling the toughest of them all. Welcome to Oregon, the end of the line for the tall tale of the imploding tank car. After months of prep, sweat, and fears, the team has pulled it off. It's time to stock and roll.
If it is indeed possible for a tank car to crush itself, well, then the testing of it is going to be one of the biggest productions we've ever undertaken on this show. That is the biggest steam cleaner you have ever seen. We need not only the tank car and some train tracks, because that's how they get around, but we also need a facility where we can shut down access to those tracks for safety. Let's get to crushing.
There's no doubt about the size of the undertaking. And the first piece of this giant experimental pressure puzzle is bringing the heat.
This boiler is the heart of our experiment. This is a 2 million BTU fire tube style boiler. Now, what's in here is a series of tubes surrounded with water, and obviously is going to heat up that water, and it's going to create a head of steam that comes up about here. And that steam is going to be up to around 360 degrees Fahrenheit. That's what's going to heat up our tank car.
And here's why the steamer is packing so much punch.
Gonna go get some tank cars.
It was almost impossible to locate. But in a coupling made in geek heaven, Adam hooks up with the supersized star of the show.
I totally get the whole thing about model trains.
How cool is that?
I had a whole bunch when I was in high school. Hello, ladies.
This is our experimental baby, our tank car. Isn't it beautiful? 67 feet long, 10 feet diameter. It holds almost 30,000 gallons of liquid. Unless you think that the shell is thin, it's actually almost half an inch thick.
It's the biggest single prop ever used on MythBusters. Weighing in at 67,000 pounds, made from cold rolled steel, it seems impossible that it could crush like a tin can. To check its interior integrity, Adam pulls the short straw.
This is not for people who don't like confined spaces.
You might think that crawling into one of these tank cars is a simple matter, but they transport all manner of different fluids and liquids, which means there can be all manner of different gases in that tank car that could asphyxiate you.
Oh, man. You have no idea how hot it is in here.
There's an entire set of safety procedures we had to review before climbing down in there. I'm wearing a safety harness lest I become unconscious so I can be pulled back out.
The walls are 101 degrees.
A quick recce, and Adam's nervous, but satisfied.
It's just a shell. There's no internal gusseting at all. And I'm talking quietly because this thing is a freaking echo chamber. If someone dropped a wrench up there, I feel like my eardrums would bleed.
So what I'm seeing here is 6 openings from the inside of this tanker to the outside world that we have to make sure are totally sealed to make this work. I think that's all I need to learn down here, and because it's hot as Hades, I'm gonna get back out. See ya.
It's loud, but sound. Too sound.
Oh man.
To ensure they can form a pressure vessel, the team bypasses the safety features by sealing the release valves. What's next?
Remember, this myth is about heating the tank car up, and then it happens to rain and cools it down. So this thing right here is called a monitor, and it's a spray nozzle. We're going to try to adjust the angle and the pressure in such a way, more this way, that we can get as much of an even coverage of the tank car as possible. I'm happy with that. That's a perfect rainstorm.
This is a giant production, and one of the key things we want to monitor is the temperature of our tank. Behind each one of these windows, we're going to have a thermometer. That thermometer will go to a wire, which will go out there to the tank car, where it will be attached to a thermocouple. Let's hook it up. Cool!
In addition to temperature, the second crucial parameter is the internal pressure.
This is officially the biggest thing I've ever drilled into.
Adam plumbs the steel wall and inserts a vacuum gauge.
We just turned this tank car into an experimental vessel.
And it's primed for the first step of the test. The colossal steam cleaner is fired up, and Adam is struggling to take it all in.
I'm having one of those moments right now, rabid excitement about what is about to take place. At the same time, it's combined with a complete disbelief about what we've got set up here. I mean, look at this. We've locked down 2.5 miles of train track, a mile of road. We've got about 35 guys and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a dozen trucks to support the implosion of that giant 70-foot-long tanker car. This is gonna be cool.
So this myth starts with the lonely train car that's just delivered its payload, and it's sitting here on the tracks waiting to be cleaned.
The cleaning comes in the form of steam. Go ahead and open up the valve and start putting steam in the tank.
Valve opening.
Piping hot at over 300 degrees, its goal is to remove every last trace of residue from the previous cargo. It's happening.
Yeah, it's already rising. Unfortunately, once the service guys had done their job, they closed every hatch and valve on the tank car, something they should never have done.
This is gonna take a while.
Yeah, a lot of mass to heat up.
Yeah. Even more unfortunately, it then begins to rain, and the completely sealed tank car full of highly expanded steam begins cooling rapidly, precipitously dropping the interior pressure.
And then what happens next is the whole tank car collapses in on itself.
Now, is that going to happen when we replicate all of those story points? We don't know. That's why we're testing it. But we will be monitoring everything from the safety of our bunker here. Well, we've been heating our tank car now for about 3 hours, and its temperature has been steadily rising, and it's very close to our small-scale temperature of over 200 degrees. That's great. Any minute now, we're going to call it. I'm going to suit up. I'll cap it, get the heck out of its way, and hopefully we'll watch it crush itself. Here we go. This is it. I gotta climb on top of that thing. It's almost 210 degrees. Shut the top manway, then I shut the bottom valve.
Adam enters the exclusion zone alone and climbs the boiling hot steel. He has to be fast and careful while he creates a 60-ton pressure vessel.
Okay, we're sealed up here. I'm climbing down.
I'm closing the valve now. Valve is closed. I am de-assing the area.
Mission accomplished. It's capped, and the countdown to catastrophe begins.
That went smoothly. Once I get back in the bunker, it's gonna be time to make it rain.
Yep, when things cool down, everything is right on track for the mythical implosion.
All right, fire department, let's make it rain.
Copy, making it rain.
Looks like is it hitting it?
It's hitting it on the far side. I think it must have gotten budged because there's
I
no
can
wind.
adjust it. So our water isn't fully hitting the tank car. I'm gonna go adjust it a little bit.
This experiment is proving to be not just the biggest, but also one of the trickiest.
This is the kind of thing that we don't want to happen. We want to see this tank collapse, and if anything is wrong, that means we have to get close to the tank to fix it, and that's bad.
Better from my end, Jamie. How about you?
Works for me. Check the kinks in the hose behind you.
Hose looks good.
Adam completes the readjustment, and back at mission control, they're all set for catastrophe.
Perfect.
It's been a monumental effort,
All right, fire department, let's make it rain.
but the team finally has all the many parts of this mythical freight train mishap in place. Cue the physics.
5 inches of mercury. 6.
Nice. It's climbing steadily. That's what we wanted to see.
The rain cools the steel. The steam inside begins to condense, and the negative pressure rises.
That is climbing a lot faster than our small scale.
The small scale car crushed at 11 inches, the single oil drum at 17. But a full-scale tank car implosion has never been recorded. The MythBusters are once again in unknown scientific territory.
12 and a half.
Oh, I'm psyched.
The pressure differential
13.
means there is already more than 1.5 million pounds of pressure pushing on the exterior surface.
Man, that makes me nervous. That thing's so friggin' big.
I know.
And it keeps on rising.
17 and a half. We've now exceeded our small scale pressures.
It's ramping up, just like the suspense.
Come on, baby.
19 and a half.
And the tension.
21.
Wow. Man.
It's nerve-wracking.
It is, and I know that the moment I blink, it's gonna happen.
23.
Damn!
25 and a half.
Holy
15 minutes after sealing in the steam, the negative internal pressure is almost as low as it can possibly go.
26 and a quarter degrees is almost a full vacuum. That occurs at just under 30 inches of mercury.
And still there's no sign of an implosion.
Boy, they make these things tough, don't they?
As the minutes tick by,
This is killing me. We're at 18 and a half minutes.
the negative pressure plateaus.
26 and 5/8.
And for the first time, the guys think the tank car might not collapse.
Remember, folks, science can be boring.
Look, everything is working here exactly as we planned. Our methodology is dead on the money. It's not working. We got a superheated tanker that was steam cleaned that we've now been raining on, and the pressure is built far beyond what I would have considered to be a fatal, catastrophic pressure to this tanker car, and yet it's holding on at 27 inches of mercury. This is astonishing. This is a very durable item.
It hasn't budged. Okay, folks, we're gonna wait for it to be an even hour. And if we haven't seen any movement on the needle by then, we'll call it.
The pressure leveled off at 27 and hasn't budged, and neither has the tank car. So when they hit the hour,
Here we go.
they reluctantly concede defeat. Pull the plug and let the air back in.
Hey, nice work on the rig. Everything we did worked beautifully, but you wouldn't break.
It's not our fault. Technically, what we did to this car to try and make it collapse with a vacuum was flawless.
Oh, it's like the train car is peeing on me out of spite.
Got the tank really hot, We sealed it up really well. We pulled darn near a perfect vacuum on it, and yet nothing we did to it made it collapse. So it turns out these cars are actually built pretty darn good, but you know what? We're not done yet.
We've gotten back on the phone. We've ordered another tank car, as if the first one wasn't difficult enough. Now, why are we going to such extreme lengths here? It's because despite evidence to the contrary, we don't think this myth is busted yet. Look, the car that mythically imploded might have been damaged in some way that we couldn't see. It might have been corroded on the inside, some way in which it was made more susceptible to crumpling.
So we found another one, and although it'll take us all night, for you, it'll be a matter of seconds.
Yeah, let's crush some stuff.
With their more corroded car in place, they're removing the steam and rain from the equation and taking a shortcut to pulling the pressure.
This time around, though, we're going to use this big-ass industrial vacuum. It'll pull exactly the same vacuum that we got with the steam.
Is there anything duct tape can't do?
But it's going to do it in a fraction of the time.
Yep, the goal is to match the realistic negative pressure achieved using condensed steam with this giant vacuum cleaner.
All right, so you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, so we have our second, more decrepit tanker car sitting over there on the track, and our giant vacuum pump is just starting up now. That is a beautiful piece of equipment. It's going to pull a vacuum. It's going to pull the same exact vacuum we pulled with the boilers and the pressure and the cooling, etc. I do not want to take my eyes off of it. Just want to watch it do its thing. Except it should do it in a fraction of the time. I want an explosion.
Here's hoping.
That's what I want.
The giant vacuum pump is fast. It's rapidly removing air. And after just a few minutes, it's already approaching the maximum negative pressure it can pull.
We got a negative 25.
Negative 25.
Will the more corroded drum succumb?
Only at 27.
Holding at 27 inches of mercury. That's exactly where we were yesterday.
Yeah.
It's been a long and winding train track.
But you wouldn't break!
And the team is about to find out once and for all if a steam cleaning accident can cause a giant steel tank car to crush. They've reached the same negative pressure they managed with steam.
Holding at 27 inches of mercury.
And several million pounds of force are pushing against the half-inch thick steel, squeezing, squashing, and pressing. But the minutes tick by, and it remains resolutely intact.
27.
Still holding at 27.
Unlike their small scale, it may not be imploding, but it is an astonishing result.
You know, as frustrating as this is to not see the train car collapse, this is looking like it's a very valid myth because everybody that we talked to swore up and down that, oh, no problem, this thing's going to collapse.
That's it. That's an hour. Let's cut it.
Turn it off.
Copy.
So it just goes to show you got to test things.
That's the sound of disappointment, ladies and gentlemen.
These tank cars are actually pretty tough little bastards. But as always, we have one more trick up our sleeve.
Yep, this has been such an ordeal. There is no way we are just going to leave it here. We are now going to arrange for our tanker car to encounter a bit of a, shall we say, accident. All we need is a crane to drop something big and heavy on our tanker car. And luckily, it turns out that the sheriff who's been helping us out has access to a crane. That is how we roll.
So we're going to use that to lift this about 30 feet above that. And then we're going to drop it. Hopefully, it'll leave a nice big dent in our tank car. And then when we pull a vacuum on it, that dent will cause the whole thing to buckle up, kind of like pulling a single card out of a house of cards. At least that's what we hope.
Yep, it's an extremely unlikely series of events, but it is possible.
That looks good to me, Jamie.
After their simulated collision, they'll pull a final vacuum to recreate the steam cleaning and see if that causes a crumple.
This is intense. Dropping 3,200 pounds on a tank car. Something we didn't expect to be doing in this episode. 3, 2, 1.
Bullseye.
Yeah! That's ideal.
Look, I can see something like this happening naturally on a train yard. A telephone pole falls over.
Well, or the equivalent of it in interior wear. And the fact is that they do put corrosive chemicals and things in these things, and it can erode.
I can't hold it in any longer. Here's the thing, right? We dropped this concrete block, and then we thought, oh, we gotta clean up all the concrete, right? We gotta clean the concrete off the track, et cetera, because there's gonna be big chunks of it everywhere. No, come here, look at this. Come here. It landed precisely, exactly where we picked it up from, upright, ready to be picked up again. That's a very respectful concrete block. That's the most cooperative big thing we've ever dropped.
Yeah, and it landed exactly, it did exactly what I wanted it to do.
Yeah, this is great.
With their completely accidental damage done, it's deja vu all over again.
All right, Dean, go ahead and start the vacuum.
The vacuum pump fires up, starts sucking, and the pressure plunges. Will the kink in the steel compromise the structural integrity?
I'm gonna say the denting compromised it. I'm gonna guess 17 inches of mercury is where it fails.
I don't know, I'm detecting a pattern here.
You're gonna say nothing at all?
Uh-huh.
That's probably the safe money. What did I say, 17? 17. Can I get a 17? Anyone wanna give me action? Cool.
10 minutes, 21 inches of mercury.
That is a hell of a vacuum pump right there.
Yeah.
It's also a hell of a dent. It's a perfect dent we made.
Yeah.
23 inches. Come on. Come on, you melon farmer.
Finally.
Oh, 23 inches of mercury. Holy cow.
This is all about the geometry. Just like with a chicken's egg, it's really quite strong and you can't break them in your hand if you squeeze them. But all it takes is one little crack on the side of the frying pan and you've got a dent, just like what we put in this tank car, and the whole thing unravels.
Man, look at that. That is beautiful.
I've never seen anything quite like that. Something that large and sturdy being deformed like that. It's kind of hard to take it in.
Really is.
It doesn't seem right somehow.
I'm getting a kind of a scale vertigo.
Yeah, yeah.
We had pulled a nearly full vacuum on two 67-foot-long tank cars and achieved bupkis, nothing. In desperation, we dropped a 3,200-pound concrete block on it and left a huge dent. Not a recommended technique for proper care and feeding of a tank car, and yet it seemed to do the trick because at 23 inches of mercury, that tank car folded like Jamie's proverbial house of cards, like this. Here, wait, play my sound effect over the actual thing. Watch this. Just like that. It was beautiful.
It looks like a big plastic bag that got deflated or something, but it's friggin' thick steel. And for it to do that, it's physics.
They finally got the implosion they were looking for. But they had to stack the deck so far in favor of a failure, this one's going to be difficult to call.
Well, this one was a bear. How do you want to call it?
Well, I think the myth as stated, we have to conclude based on the evidence that it's busted. Your average tank car, even under an impressive amount of vacuum pressure, isn't going to implode.
Agreed, but if it's dented or corroded or otherwise compromised, it could happen.
Spectacularly so. Okay, let's get the hell out of here.
Okay. We need one of those pumper cars.
Yes, I totally want one.
Yep.
All right, let's see it. What? Gummy bears?
Yep. It's a fan favorite.
All right, let's do this thing. I hope you're feeling pretty smart, Jamie.
Why?
Because for this episode, we're gonna have to behave like actual rocket scientists.
Excellent. What do you got?
Well, as you know, throughout the history of MythBusters, our relationship to rocketry has been a little bit like a Clint Eastwood movie. There's been some good, there's been some bad, and a whole lot of the ugly. This episode, we hope to put it all together for an awesome fan favorite myth about non-standard rocket fuels.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and guess that it's gummy bears?
It is, Sherlock. You're absolutely right.
Well, they do have a lot of calorific energy.
Right, and if it's true, just imagine we could fly to the moon on a rocket tail of pure, sugary goodness.
That I like.
I thought you would.
Ignition sequence start.
Rockets, a crowning, majestic technological achievement.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Their harnessed explosive energy is capable of taking us out of this world.
Eagle has landed.
This potential has led the MythBusters to fire a fearsome variety of rocketry. And they've learned a thing or two.
Holy crap! Run!
Rockets are bombs with wings.
Total explosion upon ignition.
And a successful launch generally requires real rocket fuel.
Woo!
So to test this fan-requested tall tale of gummy bear-powered propulsion, let's get things rolling with our resident rocket scientist.
Since we will be building rockets all episode long, we thought it was important to start by defining our terms. This is not an unreasonable depiction of the kind of rocket we'll use. Fiberglass body, about 7 feet long, but it's the inside that really sets it apart. Now, the business end, where the exhaust comes out, is called the fuel grain, and the fuel grain of this rocket, like our Civil War one, is made of paraffin, but it's what sprays into the fuel grain that makes this a hybrid rocket, and that is this, a pressurized canister of liquid oxygen, or LOX. Now, when the LOX is sprayed down through the paraffin and ignited, it burns very fast and very hot, and when it sprays out that nozzle, it causes a reaction which sends this rocket into the sky. The only difference between this hybrid rocket and the one we'll be making is that ours will be powered by delicious, delicious candy. Oh, that one tastes powerful.
That's the hybrid hardware. But the Fable is fuel-focused. So it's out with the standard paraffin wax and in with the edible alternative. Question is, how do they make a fuel grain out of gummy bears?
So this is how this whole thing works. This is the rocket engine liner. Now we're going to fill this with gummy bears, but we're not going to fill it solid. We need to actually have a tube down the middle through which the liquid oxygen will flow. So to create that, I'm going to insert this white plastic tube with a spacer disc so it's held in the middle. We put the gummy bears in there and we're good to go. Hello?
Oh, hey. Are we ready for this? You got the mold?
With the mold made, the guys start by simply jamming the gummies in manually. Although this won't be their only method of making the fuel grain.
Oh, we're getting close.
Packing them in so tightly means there's more energy per cubic inch.
This episode is sponsored by the American Dental Association.
But removing any air pockets is important too.
In our experience, air spaces in a rocket fuel grain are bad because they're places where the burning can propagate and create too much surface area. Shove your candy in that hole. Everything about a rocket burning is about controlling the burn. And when you have too much surface area, that burn can get out of control, and really its failure mode is to blow up your rocket. And that's bad. And there we go. All right.
Feel how heavy that is.
That is, wow, that's like 12 pounds, 10 pounds?
Yeah.
Wow. Let's freeze it.
Freezing means that when the spacer is removed, the gummy bears will retain that crucial central cavity.
You don't want to know what's in here.
That's one engine, but they've got two more in mind.
Now, Jamie and I are going to cook 2 different fuel grains. And here's where things start to get interesting in the MythBusters rocket kitchen. See, a hybrid fuel grain works better the more consistent it is. Therefore, our second rocket is going to be a contiguous single gummy rocket. We're going to gently heat up the gummy bears. Ooh. Ooh, can I lick the spoon? You really don't want to lick the spoon. Not in this shop. You don't know what's been boiled in here. I do. You don't want to know. As soon as that mass is melted, we're gonna pour it into the mold. Oh, nice. And voila, what we should get out is a fuel grain-sized single gummy. Nice control there, Heinemann. And Jamie comes from 7 generations of candy makers.
So there's an engine.
A potential engine.
For the third fuel grain, we're sticking to the spirit of the myth, which is gummy bear rocket fuel. But we're going to cheat a little bit because of some basic chemistry. These guys are mostly gelatin, which is mostly water. The last time I checked, water doesn't burn very well. So we're going to boil as much water off as we can, pour the syrup into a mold, and let it set into a hard rock candy. Now we wait.
But gently boiling the mixture at 250 degrees overnight has not given the guys the result they require.
This could not be farther away from hard candy. But we called a candy expert. And the trick is to get the candy between 300 and 310 degrees Fahrenheit.
Adam begins by testing the new technique in small scale. And things are getting a little more serious.
Make no mistake, this candy is super dangerous. It's a superheated syrup. If it got on you, third-degree burns, a trip to the hospital, and a permanent scar. 305. Okay, excellent. If it got on Jamie, it wouldn't be any problem. It would just peel off the skin off of his exoskeleton and he'd repair it. Ah! I'm good. I'm good. I'm totally good. Wow. Okay, I'm just gonna cool this down because I've got a compressed gas cylinder over there. Ah!
Take 2.
All right, welcome back to How to Ruin Kitchen Equipment. Now I'm about to heat up a bunch more candy using this big non-glass container. I have learned from my mistakes. Wow. So at this point, it's been bubbling at this exact temperature for about 25 minutes. It's reached this sort of stasis where the amount of water and the temperature of the candy are fighting each other in a convection current, and it's hit a totally stable temperature. But as soon as a certain amount of water boils out, it's going to collapse and the temperature is going to rocket upwards. This is so cool. Look at that beautiful caramel color. This is the best rocket science I've ever participated in.
Okay, tell me what to do.
Just hold on to that while I pour.
And given the potential dangers, the Heinemann steps in to help with the handling of the superheated syrup.
Oh, that's awesome. Jamie, I think this might be the worst mess I've ever made in your shop.
I don't know.
You'd have to think about it.
I'd have to think about that. You've made some pretty significant messes.
But with no further mishaps or mess, their work here is done.
There we go. Well, that was a lot more work than we anticipated, but we finally have our 3 rocket grains. We've got the hand-packed gummies, we got the contiguous single gummy, and we've got the hard crack candy. That's all we can do here in the shop. Now it's time to head out to the desert. Now, as anyone who makes gummy bear rockets will tell you, actually, we might be the first, but as we'll tell you, once you've completed your gummy bear rocket, you're going to need a place to fire it. And in the Mojave Desert, at the edge of the Cohen Dry Lake bed, we are on the compound of the Friends of Amateur Rocketry.
This is it.
The middle of nowhere. What makes this place so special is not only their incredible expertise in rocketry, but it is on this exact location we fired the Chinese rocket share more than a decade ago. And they hand-built the rockets for our 3rd and final attempt to fire a car across the desert, the JATO-3 episode.
Welcome to the MythBusters Mojave HQ, the launch pad location for some spectacular rocket science research. Can gummy bears really fuel a liquid oxygen hybrid rocket?
3, 2,
Coming up, it gets real.
1! It's gotta go!
Majestic and magnificent. Rockets are defined as a vehicle propelled by thrust
Mach 1.
from burning onboard fuel,
1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, jettison.
any fuel. And the most unlikely of all, the mythical gummy bear.
So we've got 3 different versions of our gummy bear rockets. First is the loose gummy bears that have been pressed into shape and frozen there. Then we've got the molten gummy bears, which have been poured in. And then lastly, we've got the gummy bears that have been boiled down to remove all the moisture, and those have been cast into what is basically hard candy. Those are gonna go into these 4-inch rocket casings. Inside this is a tank of liquid oxygen, a valve, and the rocket engine with the gummy bears, and then the rocket nozzle. Those are all the major components that go into a hybrid rocket.
Now, if you remember, it's a hybrid rocket because we're feeding liquid oxygen through our fuel grain, and that's what this giant tank is full of. Liquid oxygen, literally some of the scariest stuff on Earth. To say this is flammable is really, it's not accurate, because this is what makes things flammable. It is the enabler for burning, which is exactly what it's doing in our rockets.
When you fire one of these rockets, ideally you can recover it later so you can reuse it. Now, how does that happen? Well, the rocket has an altimeter in it, and it records when it stops moving and starts to go in the opposite direction, when it's reached its apogee. At that point, it sets off a trigger which fires a charge that blows this nose cone out along with the parachute so that it can sail down nicely and be recovered intact.
This right here is the 20-foot launch rail that will guide our gummy bear rockets for the first 20 feet of their journey. They'll probably speed this part up. Oh my God. There we go. Our rocket goes here, and it goes in that direction. And this makes sure that it gets off on the right foot.
With the locks and rocket casing ready to roll, cue the first fuel. Hand-packed gummies.
Isn't that pretty?
That is gorgeous. So the gummy bear fuel grain is going into its housing. There are a lot of fiddly bits that all have to work perfectly in concert. Snap rings, O-rings, rocket grains, housing, and everything, and it all has to be properly assembled.
With the engine loaded and locked, it's go time for launch.
This is the pre-launch setup. We mount the rocket, insert the altimeter and the descent parachute into the nose cone, and then erect the guide rail.
This reminds me of something.
After that, we de-ass the area.
Here we go. Because just as our bomb squads are the only ones qualified to do the final capping in of explosives, our rocket techs here are the only ones qualified to work with the super unstable liquid oxygen. Once they have the locks in place, they put in the ignition system and the countdown sequence begins. It ends, of course, with me counting from 5 to 0, and I hit the launch button. The moment I do, an igniter starts a little fire in the base of the rocket. At the same time, a valve opens up and liquid oxygen begins to spray down the middle of the core of our fuel grain. It is ignited by that flame and hopefully also in turn ignites the fuel grain, causing a chain reaction of explosive force that sends the rocket skyward. The system is armed, theoretically. All right, prediction time. Loose gummy rocket motor? I don't think it's going to work that awesomely. I think you also agree with me. But here's the thing on MythBusters. It is easy to get too clever too quickly and to miss stuff along the way. So we always want to start with the dumbest possible thing just to see if there's anything that we can learn. We've got the gummy rocket and the hard candy rocket to test after this. So I think it's fine if this one ends up going which is what I expect.
This is it. Will hand-packed gummy bears
3,
be a viable rocket fuel?
2, 1. There we go. See a little smoke. Hey! Come on, baby! That's the right sound!
That's the sound of the engine not working.
That's the sound of failure. Well, we just fired our first gummy bear rocket. And remember, these were the gummy bears that were just jammed into a rocket grain shape with no other modification. And we got a successful firing, which is we heard it burn and shoot out some fire. And then we started to hear the telltale sound of gummy bears individually peeling off from the rocket grain and getting pooped out of the bottom of our rocket, but not with enough force to actually lift this rocket. We didn't get any altitude. We didn't get 1 inch.
Yeah.
It was a failure, but it was one that I actually predicted, and I'm not often right, so I'd like us all to enjoy this moment for just a second. Okay, that's enough. Let's move on.
The ignition flame appeared to light the locks.
Oh, nice. You're eating it?
Yeah, it's still sweet.
Wow.
But the loose-packed, flavorsome fuel simply fell apart.
Usually out on sites like this, the smells can be awful. Gasoline, gunpowder, stuff like that. Out here, The gummies actually smell really nice. It's like someone just slightly burned the dessert, which is a euphemism for what we're doing here. We're burning the dessert.
Cue gummy bear fuel number 2.
This time we're using the melted gummy bears. Remember, it's one solid contiguous gummy material molded into a tube shape. I'm marginally more optimistic about this time. I got a rocket in my pocket and I'm ready for some action.
I'm getting more and more excited. The rocket grain is in there. I'm feeling very optimistic. And sneezing.
There you go.
Just want to point out, about 106 degrees Fahrenheit out here right now. I don't mind telling you, it's hot.
And the Heinemann has a unique method for beating the heat.
People often ask me why the beret. I'll show you. It's about 110 degrees right now, and I don't care.
With the rocket ready for launch, back at Mission Control, it's countdown number 2.
All right, here we go, folks. Arming the system.
Gummy bears are go.
Launching in 3, 2, 1. Ooh, ooh.
Go, go, go.
Come on, come on, come on.
Go, go, go.
What? That.
That didn't look good.
No. That was the opposite of something happening.
Yep, that was a misfire. Hybrid rockets really are a tricky, temperamental technology.
I'm not even sure we got a genuine ignition of the fuel on
Yeah.
Several volatile and precise components have to be in sync, and that's with an ideal fuel.
So we had a little bit of a misfire because our igniter, which is supposed to make an aggressive burst of flame to be able to light up the inside of the rocket engine, well, it was a little too aggressive and it blew itself right out of the engine instead of lighting it off. So we're going to put another one in there, fill the rocket back up with liquid oxygen, and try it again.
Launching. 3, 2, 1, launch. I see smoke. Oh, that sounded good. Come on, come on! Get up the monument!
I hear it.
That sounds better than the last one.
Flame and no movement, though. No.
I'm sad. From our bunker, we pushed the ignition button. And first, we saw the igniter smoke. And then, as they released the liquid oxygen into the chamber, we heard this telltale sound that really typifies a hybrid rocket, which is kind of a... And then there's this hum. This... That right there tells you you're hearing a hybrid rocket fire. Unfortunately, it did not have enough thrust to lift this rocket even an inch on its stand.
Yeah, well, science, baby. Now, gummy bears may work like rocket fuel when you put them in little kids, but for us, not so much. And that's why for the next round, we're going to be using gummy bears that we've boiled down to remove all of the water, leaving only the sugar. And we're hoping that we'll get a better result out of that.
Optimism is high. If gummy bears can possibly provide enough thrust,
This is the one right here.
then this concentrated candy
Oh, that's nice.
is their best chance.
All right.
If anything's going to work, this is gonna, because we know sugar burns and there's a lot of energy in it, actually.
Yep, 1 pound of sugar contains 7,700 kilojoules, meaning this fuel grain with 12 pounds of concentrated candy has the potential to lift a 50-pound rocket several thousand feet into the air.
All right. My hopes are all pinned on a large tube of hard candy.
But will it burn?
Here we go.
And will it convert that energy to thrust?
Launching in 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Oh. Oh, hey! Come on, baby!
I saw light coming out of it, so
Yeah,
it's burning.
I see bursting out of the bottom. Come on! Go! A duck.
Houston, we have all the problems.
Well, I think that is pretty definitive. Gummy bears do not a viable rocket engine make. We have tried compacted regular gummy bears unmodified. We've tried melted gummy bears with a big gummy rocket grain. We've tried gummy bears cooked until they are hard rock candy. And although each one gave us a progressively better ignition with more of that so hybrid sound, none of them caused this thing to lift even 1 inch on the rocket stand here. That's it.
Over the years, the MythBusters have learned the hard way that failure is a valid result.
1, ignition.
And with a lack of thrust,
Go!
gummy bear rocket fuel is looking like a bust.
A duck.
But
Come on, you know us. We're not gonna give up just yet. We're gonna fire the hard candy rocket one more time. And we're gonna add a soupçon of, shall we say, encouragement to help it go a little more vigorously.
What I'm doing is I put a spray adhesive down the throat of this and then pour gunpowder on it, and it coats the inside of the rocket engine. So when we stick the igniter in there, the whole surface is ignited nicely. That should be good to go.
so with an even sprinkling of black powder in place to help initiate ignition, the guys are shooting for one last shot at gummy glory.
So we've tried all our different versions of gummy bears, and nothing has worked yet. This one right here has got to work. It's now or never.
All right, Mr. Heineman, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Here we are, launching the hard candy rocket. 3, 2, 1, launch. Yep, come on, baby. Come on! It's gotta go!
It was the best case candied scenario, and there was no liftoff. But has the myth been busted, or the MythBusters' methodology?
What is wrong?
The Heineman smells a hardware rat.
At this point, I'm becoming suspicious as to whether it's the fuel's fault, or is it, say, the oxidizer or the general rocket system that is at fault here. So this next attempt, we're going to try and eliminate that as a concern, and we're going to use paraffin as the fuel, which we know is capable of making a rocket like this fly really far.
Yep, by replacing the gummy bears with standard rocket fuel, this control launch will test the hardware itself. Packed with paraffin, the rocket experts expect an altitude of 20,000 feet.
Anything less than that, and we're gonna have some problems to solve. Okay, here we go. Launching in 3, 2, 1. That's it, I see smoke.
That's clearly not the high altitude expected.
Here it comes. That doesn't look like it went higher than about 600 or 700 feet.
It should have got at least 30 times higher.
After the failure of all of our gummy bear rockets, we fired off this paraffin rocket as a test of our hardware and technology, and it flew 675 feet. That is unremarkable. That is a pretty clear marker that we need to review our hardware and our technology before proceeding.
Well, the rockets just aren't working.
No, and the gummy bear results have to be thrown out completely. It's the tricky, finicky business of these hybrid rockets that's getting in the way of us getting any actual results. I don't know what we're gonna do.
Well, let's head back to the shop and regroup.
All right, we'll have a total rethink about this.
Yeah.
With the hardware fail, all their results are redundant. All they've proved so far is they're facing one of the most challenging experiments in MythBusters history. So it's back to the shop and square one.
So these are the parts we were trying to use in the desert. We've got your gummy bears here. We've got your oxidizer, pressurized tank here with the valves and the touchy ignition systems. Look, I think we just bit off more than we can chew. We are moving on.
Instead, we're going to use a solid rocket motor like this. It may not look like that much, but it's actually a very carefully prepared mixture of fuel, oxidizer, and a binder to hold it all together. Now, it's nice and simple because, in theory, all you do is light it and off it goes. We're going to make our own version of it using gummy bears as fuel, along with the same oxidizer and binder.
Solid rockets. They've ejected Buster's Bond seat, powered JATO, and fired the Huacha. They're simple and effective.
But producing fuel grains like this is not only time-consuming and difficult, but you need a special license, which neither Jamie nor I possess. So what we're going to do here is to turn these gummies into a powder. There we go. And then send them off to a specialist who will produce for us fuel grains that look like this.
The specialists require the fuel as a fine, dry powder.
3, 2, 1.
And to convert the gummies, Adam has hit upon a technique that doesn't involve large quantities of lethal lava-like syrup.
Seems like it's working spectacularly. Okay, I'm gonna use a coffee grinder to make them even more powdery. Dude, look at that. That is a super fine powder that used to be gummy bears. That's exactly what our Rocketeers want. Time to make a whole bunch more.
While Adam ramps up production on his gummy bear crystal method, Jamie is, well, being Jamie.
Look, I'm loving the technical challenge of making a gummy bear-powered rocket, and if it works, cool. But let's face it, ultimately, there's no real practical application for it. So I'm going to make a second fuel powder, one that could conceivably be useful. Oh, God. That's awful. I'm going to use poop. It's a pretty disgusting sequence up next, so you might want to put down your snacks.
Yep, Jamie's moving on from the myth and is thinking ahead. He's looking into the future of space travel. No, really.
Oh, man, that's nasty.
And like Adam, his first step is to turn his potential fuel into a dry powder.
First, I'm going to dry it out up here in the sun, which has the added benefit of keeping the stink out of the shop. It's already giving me nightmares. And then I'm going to grind it down into a fine, dry powder.
Some sun-dried poop coming right up.
I want them nice and dry and crispy. That's the way I like them.
Processing dog waste into powder is one thing, but the big question is why?
Look, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but crazy is kind of Jamie's MO.
I have no idea if this is going to work or not, but we'll soon find out.
Whenever he can design a system that has no waste whatsoever, where he's expended just enough energy to get the job done and no more, he is the happiest.
Well, it's definitely breaking it up.
And where does that philosophy reach its zenith? In space. Astronauts are already drinking their own urine, after filtering. With Jamie's plan, they'd also be using their feces as rocket fuel. What could be more efficient? So, while it sounds crazy, there might just be something to this.
It may have seemed like a gag to make you gag, but typically, by focusing on the details,
Tell you one thing, this rocket better work.
Jamie's actually thinking big. So with the gummies and poop powderized,
Yep, that's pretty well ground up.
it's packaged and sent off. After the dangerous process of combining it into a solid motor is complete, it'll be back to the desert for a date with detonation.
Welcome back to the Mojave Desert. Last time we were here, we were testing rockets made of gummy bears, and the results were spectacularly unspectacular.
Round two.
We had rockets that did this,
Oh, no.
and rockets that did this. A duck. Yeah, so we've changed our methodology entirely. We've gone from hybrid rockets to solid rocket motors, and we've come back out to this site with a gummy bear rocket to test. We've also come out with something I might call Heinemanian.
Horror within horror.
Mr. Heineman has gotten a bee in his bonnet about making a rocket using poop, and we are also going to test that.
Last time we saw the sweet and sour fuel, they were powderized and sent off to the rocket scientists.
And here is what they did with them. They turned them into 2 official rocket motors, one made out of gummy bears, one made out of poop. Barely worse than the gummy bears.
Yep, they've been converted into solid rocket propellant.
It looks like this. Basically, it's composed of an oxidizer and the fuel, which is held in place by a binder made up of a variety of rubber resins. Now, when that starts to burn, all those expanding gases are forced out through the rocket nozzle. That accelerates those gases, creating a lot of thrust, and up the rocket goes.
In stark contrast to the hybrid system, it couldn't be simpler. An electronic match is lit, and in theory, the gummy and poop-based fuels begin an explosive chain reaction. Question is, how will the mythical fuel's performance be measured?
It's almost time for launch. Now, our first launch is surprisingly not going to be either a gummy bear rocket or a poop rocket. It is, in fact, going to be a control launch of a best-case scenario rocket, otherwise known as a rocket. Big rocket coming through. It has the ideal mixture of fuel, binder, and oxidizer.
Okay, in goes the engine with standard rocket propellant.
And it will give us the best case scenario of how high a rocket can go of this size and weight.
All right, well, that's it. Let's put it on the rail.
All right. Now, I know we've already spent a bunch of time explaining the difference between this rocket and its predecessors, but you might not notice. We've got 3 cameras attached to this rocket so that we can see the rocket's eye view of its own launch. That's pretty cool. Oh, yeah, I remember. This part sucks. There we go. She's up.
The propellant in this rocket is a standard formulation that has been optimized for its performance. Now, we're going to use it as a control or a benchmark because when we send it up, we're going to record the maximum altitude it reaches. Then when we send up our gummy bear and our poo rockets, we'll also record how high they went, and that'll give us a solid point of comparison.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. MythBusters solid rocket motor control in 3, 2, 1. Yeah! I knew we'd see a rocket fire eventually. That was cool.
Yeah.
A little pop. That was the pop of the parachute deploying.
Unlike the hybrid system, the ignition and launch was successful. And the rocket's eye view of the Mojave Desert, spectacular. However,
Oh, and it's drifting. It's drifting a lot.
proving once again that rocket science is, well, rocket science, wind conditions were less than ideal.
All right, let's go get our rocket.
During ascent, the rocket was pushed significantly sideways.
We might be wandering here for a little while.
But after a successful search and rescue, they head back to base, where they discover it reached 4,133 feet. But more detailed data reveals a potential problem.
So we had a good launch, but the telemetry and GPS is telling us that we had a lot of lateral drift that may have compromised our data. Because if that curve was straightened out, it might have actually given us a higher altitude. So we've got another one of these rockets. Control test number 2. And we're going to go again just to be sure.
Yep, to ensure all the launches have equal conditions, they wait until the wind dies down.
All right, let's do this. You ready?
Yeah.
This is control number 2. Firing in 3, 2, 1. Launch!
Wow.
Oh, beauty!
That one went straight up.
Straight up, and almost straight down.
Dude, I think that one's gonna land like right here. It was coming right down, right on top of us.
Nice. Walking distance from the bunker.
And telemetry says the distance this went to was 4,491 feet.
Well, that gives us our baseline. Time to fire up the gummy bear rocket.
Let's do it.
Unaffected by wind, control number 2 went almost 400 feet higher, and the benchmark for gummy bears has been established.
I know that we say that failure is always an option, and truly it is. But in this episode, I feel like we've had our fair share. So I am feeling great relief at actually getting something off the ground and something with which we can compare our results with. Whew.
The rocket propellant we've been using is 77% ammonium perchlorate oxidizer and 23% fuel mixed with a rubber binder. Now we're replacing that fuel component with gummy bear powder. In goes the gummy bear motor. What we're looking to find out is how the gummy bear fuel component compares to the conventional fuel component. Good to go.
It's been one of the most technically challenging experiments in MythBusters history. But this is it. The gummy bears are good to go.
You know, Jamie, not many people know this, but gummy bears are actually the poop of baby unicorns.
Really?
Yeah. No one's ever gotten close enough to figure out how their sphincter makes that bear shape, but little known fact. It's time for a prediction about gummy bears. Drum roll, please. Thank you. My prediction is that the gummy bears will actually perform as a rocket fuel. I don't think it's much of a stretch to believe that. They're a sugar that's a hydrocarbon that has energy, and from everything I understand about rocketry, which is a fair bit after all these years, I think they're gonna take off. I don't think they're gonna be as efficient as regular rocket fuel. I don't think they're gonna exceed it, but I think they're gonna perform pretty well.
The key point of comparison for the energy and efficiency of the propellant will be the maximum altitude attained.
All right, so this is it. You ready?
Are you ready?
I'm totally ready. Let's gummy the sky open.
Conventional propellant launched this 8-foot rocket with 50-pound payload to 4,491 feet. How will the gummies go?
Gummy bear rocket in 3, 2, 1.
There it goes. We have ignition.
Went way up there.
It did. Gummy bears worked.
Yep, they did.
Give me some right there. Boom.
It's been a long and frustrating journey, but that one successful launch has made it all worthwhile.
Beeping is good.
Go for main engine start. 2, 1. Booster ignition and the final liftoff of Discovery.
Rocket science is knife-edge sensitive technology. Harnessing an explosive chain reaction for propulsion has its pitfalls. And not enough energy or poor design,
A duck.
means you don't get off the launch pad.
1.
But how did the gummy bears and their sinister black vapor trail perform?
Boom.
After finding the landing site,
Beeping is good. That is beautiful.
it's the mythical moment of truth. It flew, it's true. But how did it perform compared to real rocket fuel?
So when you decode the altimeter, it says that our gummy bear rocket got up to 3,691 feet. That's pretty respectable.
Only respectable?
So gummies flew, man. They ignited, they shot into the sky, flew almost 3,700 feet into the air. That was awesome. What does it mean? Is it time to break out the champagne and call NASA about our new rocket fuel? Let's slow down just a little bit and take a look. Here's the thing. The whole point of real rocketry is to maximize thrust and efficiency to get the largest possible payload as far from Earth as possible. So the discovery of a rocket fuel that is less efficient than the fuel we currently use, it's not really cause for celebration. It's more a reason to celebrate rocketry's flexibility, let's say. I'm going to say this one is plausible.
Yep, the sweet mythical snacks, carefully combined with a potent oxidizer and binder, had enough energy for liftoff. But in such a high-performance technology, 82% is merely viable and barely successful. Cue the Heinemann.
Well, it was fun, and it actually worked. But let's face it, there's not really any practical reason to use it. There is, however, another fuel that, on the face of it, might seem just as frivolous. But in reality, it might just have a practical use in future space travel.
Oh. All right, you might be forgiven for thinking Jamie has lost his marbles, but allow me to explain. What makes a rocket fly, what makes a good rocket fuel is a hydrocarbon because it burns well in the presence of oxygen, and poop is a hydrocarbon. Back in the shop, Jamie did some calorific testing of poop versus rocket fuel.
2,916 calories per gram.
Even though it was several orders less efficient than rocket fuel, it's a lot easier to find than gummy bears. Up on the rocket, it's being made all the time. And on a rocket where every gram counts in terms of the energy expenditure, he might just be onto something.
So after all that nasty, smelly, disgusting, doggy doo-doo, we end up with this sleek carbon fiber beauty right here. So there we go.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, the first poo rocket coming out of MythBusters.
It's time to pronounce my poop rocket prediction. And I want to get this right because I don't want to poop the bed. I mean, rocketry is something that we do. So I'm here to say that I think that while the poop may launch, I don't think that our number 2 solution here will become our number 1 solution.
Mind if I set this one off?
Not at all. Be my guest.
The standard rocket fuel control nearly hit 4,500 feet. How will Jamie's no-waste, waste fuel compare?
All right, this is it. Poop rocket, the final launch in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, there it goes. Whoa! That's beautiful! Dude! It's got a very appropriately dark smoke trail, doesn't it? Jamie! That was really respectable!
Yeah!
That was fantastic! Oh! Well done, little poop rocket.
Okay, so the telemetry is telling me that we got 2,900 feet. That's pretty respectable.
Respectable? It's downright phenomenal. I mean, I know it didn't go as high as the gummy bears, but that was never the point. The fact is that it did launch. Here's the thing you need to know about why poo is amazing. It's always going to be there, and it's totally useless.
If you're on a long space voyage, every gram counts as far as your payload, so you're going to want to recycle as much as possible. With something like urine, it's not so hard. You can filter it and treat it and then drink it again. But with poop, it's not like you're going to be able to process it and then reconsume it. We have, however, shown that it might just be a viable rocket fuel. Who knew?
You heard it here first, NASA. Or maybe you already thought of it. Probably did. Bunch of smart guys. Now, we got to call this before we go. Gummy bears and poop as rocket fuel, how do we fly?
Well, I think it's pretty clear. They're both plausible.
I think they are. Let's get out of here.
On this episode of MythBusters,
Lower.
Adam and Jamie attempt to make the Earth move.
Oh my God!
And bring down this bridge when they test and build the mythical pocket-sized earthquake machine. Designed by one of the greatest inventors of all time.
Tesla is an unmitigated genius.
Plus, Grant, Tori, and Carrie investigate the case of the exploding lava lamp. Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage.
Ants are all over my head, man.
And Jamie Heineman.
Gets me all worked up just looking at it.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience.
That was heavy.
Joining them, Grant Imahara.
Go get him, boy.
Tori Belleci.
Somebody order some exploding pants.
And Carrie Byron.
Oh, God.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test.
You think we should do it? I mean, there are some who believe that the device this small has the potential to bring this entire bridge crashing down.
Yeah, sure, I'll hook it up.
Okay, wait. Give it back. We got to do a little bit of science before we get to the finale of the myth.
And what science it is, because Adam and Jamie will be testing a mythical invention of the 19th century scientific savant, Nikola Tesla. With contributions to fields as diverse as robotics, ballistics, electricity, and magnetism, he's been described as the man who invented the 20th century. But his work has also fed speculation about death rays, mind control, and this harmless-looking handheld earthquake machine.
Tesla's earthquake machine.
I read about this when I was like 19 years old. He claimed that he had built this device to make a mechanical generator of some kind, but that he had bolted it as a test to a girder in his building and tuned it up through the frequencies until he had matched the building's frequency, and when he did, all hell broke loose. The building began to, shake around them. They all ran outside to find pandemonium. They thought there was a big earthquake. The fire department was there, the police department was there, and Tesla had to take a hammer to his device to stop it from doing its damage.
A crackpot genius, handheld earthquake machine, and all hell breaking loose? It's the stuff MythBusters dream about. And after a trip to the patent office to source Tesla's original designs, Adam and Jamie are all over it like white on rice.
I'm totally on the same page as you about this.
With the plans before them, the plan of action is refreshingly simple. Build their very own earthquake machine and see if it works. And after a few hours research, the guys have an understanding of the design's mechanics.
Tesla's earthquake machine is actually based on something he used in a whole bunch of different inventions and patents, and it's what he called the mechanical oscillator generator.
Which, thanks to the graphics department, looks like this. A pocket-sized system of pistons and an air cushion work together, reciprocating a central linear rod. The speed of this vibration can be adjusted or tuned to match the resonant frequency of the target object. And Tesla claimed the resulting positive feedback could be harnessed to destroy anything.
Tesla's device is all about resonance. It reciprocates at the same frequency that the object that it's attached to is capable of responding to, and supposedly the whole thing is like this feedback thing that just gets out of control and the thing flies apart.
Jamie sounds dubious, and with good reason. The team have come up against resonance before with mixed results. Will Earthquake Machine be a repeat of Break Step Bridge?
There's no danger they pose to the bridge. I'd say the myth is totally busted.
Or will they get results similar to breaking glass?
I did it!
To harness the destructive power of resonance, Adam wants to build Tesla's oscillating earthquake machine from scratch. But ever the pragmatist, Jamie has found a shortcut.
Okay, you ready for the oscillation? That's what that is. Tesla's device is actually very simple. All it does is reciprocate. And In fact, there's a very common device that everybody's familiar with called a jackhammer that does nothing more than that.
You're right.
So, by modifying the jackhammer's motor, they'll have an earthquake machine, in line with Tesla's original design.
Hell, let's try it. We could knock this out before lunch.
With the mechanical oscillation taken care of, they simply have to control the frequency of the vibration.
I'm tuning it by adjusting the amount of back pressure on it.
You're changing the frequency.
And next, they replace the chisel from the jackhammer with a small rod. Then they machine the piston parts that will house the air cushion. And with just the air cushion to attach, there's time for a quick test.
Anybody want to feel? Yeah.
All right, end segment.
This myth is a really recent one, actually. It comes from 2004, where apparently a guy killed himself with a lava lamp.
Actually, I heard this one's true, but for the life of me, I cannot figure out how he did it.
I mean, what was he doing? It's like, was he impatient and he didn't want to wait for the light to heat up the lamp, and then he stuck it on the stove? Or he might have just been like us and he was just experimenting with a lava lamp.
In 2004, a Washington State resident was found dead at home. Cause of death? A large piece of glass shrapnel to the heart after a lava lamp left on a stove exploded. But how on earth did this groovy symbol of the 60s turn lethal killer? If anyone can get to the bottom of this, it's our very own MSI unit. Myth Scene investigators Carrie, Tori, and Grant are on the case.
Okay, well, sounds simple enough. What is the plan?
Well, I'll go get some lava lamps.
I'd like to make a target. I can maybe go get some real human ribs to make a really good torso.
What do you want to do?
I'll do the math.
With that.
While Grant calculates what to do with his day off, Carrie and Tori get down to business. Our super sleuths have a two-stage investigation. First, if a lava lamp is left on a stove, will it explode? And if it does, could the resultant shower of glass and goo lead to a lethal piece of shrapnel to the heart? So to recreate the scene, the first thing they'll need is a rack of ribs.
That is so cool.
And here at the Bone Room, you can satisfy all your skeletal needs. But wait a minute, doesn't Carrie have a mortal fear of all things dead and not buried?
I really, really love skulls and bones and all that.
Right, but not the fleshy, gooey parts.
Put some just all that muddy meat just makes me ill.
Cue the flashbacks.
I'm a vegetarian city girl from California.
Oh my God, it blew his teeth out. It just blew his teeth out.
Can we find a story where we don't work in dead animals?
For real.
I'm so traumatized right now.
This is really cool.
So you're pro-mummy, anti-zombie is what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Okay, now we all know a little more about Carrie and the skeletons in her closet. What about the myth?
He actually had to get a shard of glass exploding and going through the rib cage, through whatever connective tissue was here, and then into the heart.
So you're gonna actually have to get it through one of the holes and through all that muscle, and depending on how fat the person was, their fat and tissue, and then into the organs.
It's just some bad luck.
Bad luck our team will try to recreate back at the shop. And while Carrie gets her ribs to go, Tori has seen the light. Tori, lava lamps?
I just want to check this one out because it's got sparkles and glitter. Ah! They get hot.
The third-degree burns help focus Tori's mind. And before long, he's headed back to the shop with a good selection, where Grant has been looking for some inside info on the prime suspect.
Well, for this myth, I've been trying to find out exactly what's inside of a lava lamp. Well, although the biggest manufacturer of lava lamps in the U.S. keeps their recipe secret, With a little bit of searching, we've been able to find out that lava lamps have inside them a lot of things that are potentially flammable. Mineral oils, wax, alcohol.
Meanwhile, Carrie is working on putting some fake flesh on her real ribs.
I know it's not going to be a totally accurate representation of the human body, but the way the lava lamp exploded is a shard of glass went flying through the air and pierced his heart through his rib cage. I just want to see what kind of chance glass has of getting that far into the human body.
To do it, Carrie is casting a ballistics gel bust around the human rib cage. By suspending the ribs in position, she'll have a close structural analog of a human torso.
I'm trying to figure out exactly where the rib cage is going to end on this dude.
To confirm the story that glass shrapnel from an exploded lava lamp can pierce the heart, Carrie gives Barry the ballistics bust a fake heart, which, if punctured, will leak its fake blood and simulate his death. With his internal organ in place, he's ready to put on some weight. And after a night in the fridge chilling out, Barry's all set for the great lava lamp experiment.
Oh, that is beautiful.
God, that came out good.
Adam and Jamie are testing the myth that Nikola Tesla built and successfully tested a pocket-sized earthquake machine. And after studying the patents and original photo of the device, Adam is hanging on Tesla's every word.
I was experimenting with vibrations. I had one of my machines going and I wanted to see if I could get it in tune with the vibration of the building. I put it up notch after notch. Suddenly, all the heavy machinery in the place was flying around. I grabbed a hammer and broke the machine. Outside in the street, there was pandemonium. The police and ambulance arrived. We told the police it must have been an earthquake. I told my assistants to say nothing.
To investigate these extravagant claims, Adam and Jamie are building a mover and shaker of their own. Based on Tesla's original patent, they've come up with this.
We're about to fire up Tesla's mechanical oscillator. We promise that if this device works, we will use our powers only for good. You better watch out, man. That's going to make this whole building fall apart.
That would be a problem if it did that, obviously, but I'm not worried.
It's like 2 or 3 hertz. We need to increase the speed a little bit.
Adam thinks they haven't nailed the spirit of the design, but Jamie just wants to move on.
It's not working the way it's supposed to because all we've got here is a piston going back and forth. The way it's described, one of the key aspects of it in Tesla's description is the air spring, is that...
As far as I'm concerned, this is what Tesla described. You have minor variations.
I don't think this is the device. You really have to separate out what your opinion is from the facts of the device. We haven't even come close here in terms of the frequency that it's moving at and that air cushioning thing.
But the problem is, the air cushion that Tesla described as frictionless is causing friction and slowing the device down.
This device isn't working. We could waste a lot of time on making something that works better than this one, but it's still not an efficient way of demonstrating the principle involved.
The great and powerful Jamie Heineman has spoken!
It's a classic MythBusters standoff. Adam wants due diligence, and Jamie wants efficiency. But like an old married couple, they soon compromise.
I'm going to have another look at this device and see if I can't tune it to get it as close to Tesla's device as I possibly can.
So Jamie gets to replace the air cushion with mechanical springs. And Adam gets the increase in top speed he wanted.
Ooh, nice!
Adam's happy and agrees that the switch to mechanical springs is in line with Tesla's ideas.
He talks about the fact that the work that is being done by the air spring could be done by mechanical springs, and the only reason he prefers the air spring is because it has no inclination to break.
You can feel that over here.
Yeah, no, it's a real deal.
Which means they can test it for real.
Jamie carries a couple of these uphill every morning for 2 hours.
But what to test it on?
The reason we're going with a 2-foot bar is because it's exactly what Tesla said that he busted apart the first time he tried this out. For a long time, nothing happened, he said, but at last the great steel link began to tremble and finally broke. Crowbars could not have done it, but a fusillade of taps, none of which would have harmed a baby, did it. That's the kind of response we're looking for.
Spectrum analyzer coming through.
I am taping an accelerometer to this bar. This is hooked up to a frequency analyzer, which actually should tell me exactly what the resonating frequencies of the bar are, and it should also tell me when I've got it properly excited to the maximum degree.
This is it. Tesla's earthquake machine will finally be used in anger.
We're ready to go.
Adam is monitoring the feedback.
All right, I think you can go up.
And Jamie, on regulator duty, is adjusting the frequency of the earthquake machine.
You're at about 32.
At 32 hertz, with the earthquake machine running at top speed, there's no sign of the steel bar resonating.
My inclination would be, let's turn it up on full and leave it for half an hour. See if it actually, does anything to the bar. According to Tesla, it didn't happen instantaneously.
What did happen was a failure of the prototype.
My guess is if I put it back together, it'll run now for a little while.
Jamie resurrects it, but it's not long before it dies again.
This is like my worst nightmare.
And again.
We can't even get a long enough test to prove that it doesn't work. I mean, I guess we have proved that it doesn't work, but not in the way that we intended.
It seems the mechanical springs Tesla said would have an inclination to break are breaking. And after a long and frustrating day, spirits, and quite possibly minds, are following suit. The build team are in MSI mode. Myth scene investigators Carrie, Grant, and Tori are hot on the trail of a lethal lava lamp.
They get hot.
Well, Tori has successfully gotten a bunch of lava lamps for us, and I finished my human torso with a fake exploding heart. So now the next logical step is to actually recreate the scene.
Detectives Byron, Imahara, and Balechi are staging a reconstruction to answer two questions. Will a lava lamp explode if left on a stovetop? And if so, will the blast be powerful enough to send a lethal piece of glass into a human heart?
I think most people sit and watch lava lamps like this. Dude. Yeah, that's about the right position.
With Barry the ballistics bust assuming the position, everything and everyone is ready.
Ready? A 3, a 2, a 1.
Run.
Now they just have to wait for things to warm up.
Starting to bubble, there it goes.
It's starting to move.
And pass the time making a few predictions.
Underneath that little hat is a metal, like a bottle cap. I think that's gonna blow off first before the glass ruptures.
I have a feeling this is gonna work. You got a high pressure situation inside the bottle. There's nowhere for that pressure to go except out. It's gonna turn that bottle into a bomb. Oh! Well, it didn't explode, but you were right. The top popped off and the bottom blew out.
I call that an explosion.
Explosion or not, it looked pretty dangerous. There was hot oil and wax erupting in a volcanic geyser. But no glass shrapnel in Barry the ballistic bust.
Yeah, he's clean.
Well, let's clear out to the smoke finishes.
We didn't get any shards of glass in the bust. What happened was the cap gave way, released all the pressure, released all the liquid inside. And as soon as the liquid was gone, the heat from the stove actually shattered the bottom of the bottle. So we didn't get that explosion that the myth's talking about.
No explosion means there are still plenty of loose ends in this story. But what is clear are the two reasons why you shouldn't put a lava lamp on a stove. The first is written into the safety instructions.
Do not use any other means to heat up the lamp other than the bulb provided.
And the second is this. Jamie and Adam are tackling Tesla and his incredible earthquake machine.
Tesla is an unmitigated genius. I mean, he is absolutely an amazing brain. He invented alternating current, but
late in his life, neglected by his sponsors, not given his due, watching his invention spread across the world and him not getting any piece of it. Also in a bitter patent battle about the invention of the radio, which he eventually won, posthumously. I think he was trying to drum up some press, and I think this story was part of that.
With 2 failed prototypes, confidence in the myth is low, so it's time for Plan B.
My opinion is if we're going to do this right, we have to come up with a way of visualizing, demonstrating visually what we're talking about when we're talking about resonance and resonant frequencies.
Well, resonance can be kind of tricky. Why don't we start with water? Create a wave action that we can see.
So the plan is to build a wave tank, rig a quick and dirty reciprocating device, tune it in, and create a mini tsunami.
Dude, that is so trippy. What I love about this test is it really illustrates Tesla's theoretical ideas perfectly. When you push a kid on a swing, each of your pushes doesn't make him go all the way up. It's the sum total of them. You're adding energy each time. Dude, look at that. You hit a sweet spot again. Look at that. That's twice the sweet spot that you were hitting before.
And that was a minute variation in speed.
That is so cool.
Like that was a difference on this meter from 1.5 to 1.6, and at 1.5 it was almost a flat calm.
Right.
At 1.6 it's starting to almost bounce out of the chamber.
In some states, when there is no harmonic vibration between the oscillation of the ball and the way the water waves are moving, the ball can move up and down and the tank just stays totally level. And then in other configurations, when we hit a harmonic vibration, the ball's moving up and down at just a minutely different speed, but the waves are going like this. Yeah. And that's just exactly what we're doing, or what we're trying to do in the steel.
Re-energized with all things Tesla, Adam and Jamie decide it's time to get back to the earthquake machine.
Our first air-powered jackhammer did not work. We just modified it so much that it began failing in ways we can't fix. We looked at going and getting another one, and Jamie has an air-powered auto tool for hammering.
Hold it down. That's pretty fast.
This is 10 times better than that. It's smaller. It's not so much of an impact tool when you don't have the tool in it. We can back pressure it with the air cushion that we were looking for from the beginning, and it can fit in your pocket. I think it's exactly in the spirit of what Tesla drew.
It's so close to Tesla's design, the only modification required is a steel plate so it can be attached to the target object.
This is actually Jamie's personal massager. He's all like, honey, I feel really sore. Would you work on me for a bit? And his wife's like, and he's like, oh, that's right, yeah. Oh, lower, oh, yeah. That's how he has such big shoulders.
Adam and Jamie once again prepare to disintegrate a solid steel bar with an earthquake machine.
Accelerometer's in, the device is clamped in. I'm ready to go.
They take it through the air hammer's full range of frequencies. But with no sign, the steel bar is resonating.
I'm measuring the frequency that our device is applying to the bar, and it's right about 50, 52 hertz.
But Tesla said that it was a while before destruction ensued. And if it's good enough for Tesla...
Well, the lowest natural frequency of the bar is in the hundreds, like 400 or 500. We're not going to get that with any device we got here. I'm looking forward to trying this on some other types of steel.
Cue the steel bar alternatives.
Scoobity, wah, wah, wah.
First, a 2-foot section of 2-inch square tubing. And this time, they get a little action.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
That's the highest amplitude on that primary 20 hertz hit. And you can see it's shaking around more than any other time.
So we're starting to see potentially the kind of excitement that's possible. It's just we need to get a bar that's tuned to this device and this device tuned to that bar. It's low frequency. Then we should see some real vibration.
And the best chance they have to do that is test a bar with a lower resonant frequency. Like this 20-footer, which has a harmonic as low as 7 hertz. But after hours of tweaking the system, there's no sign of any action. And in Jamie's mind, this myth has already been consigned to the busted bin.
Currently, my impression is that this idea of putting this little tiny thing on some massive structure and by tuning it just so, getting the whole thing to resonate, you're not going to have, like, you know, a flea jumping up and down on a girder, and if he does it at the right frequency over and over again, that all of a sudden magically the whole structure goes down. I mean, that's what Tesla's talking about with this principle of, you know, this magical resonance that he's creating. Shall we pull it off?
Yes.
So far, MSI San Francisco have yet to break the case of the lethal lava lamp. Barry the ballistic bust took a burning hot shower, but without an explosion, he's free of any deadly shrapnel wounds. So far.
All right, so this is test number 2. We're going with the lava lamp with the bottle cap top instead of the safety cap. This kind of bottle cap will hopefully be stronger and it'll hold that pressure inside, allowing it to explode. And that's what we're looking for here in this myth.
But 10 minutes in, and it looks like...
Oh, I hear something. I can see it leaking.
Tori's theory has a few holes in it. But despite the leak, the cap holds, and the pressure continues to build.
Sweet.
Yeah!
Yeah!
Yeah! Fire!
And the escaping flammable lava makes things even more interesting.
Oh, that is looking a little out of control. Oh, wow.
Yeah! Look at that, it's just extinguishing itself right now.
Oh! Okay, that was an explosion.
Was awesome! Yeah!
With the explosive potential of the lava lamp confirmed, our team of forensic investigators check out the scene and, more importantly, Barry.
The bottle has completely disintegrated.
Here's a small shard of glass.
I mean,
how deep was it?
It was just surface.
Based on what I've just seen, I absolutely believe that this could be lethal. I mean, the amount of energy that we got out of one of these bottles with no modifications whatsoever, this is right off the shelf, that's a lot of energy. And I think that that could definitely blow a piece of glass right into your heart.
And to prove it, all they have to do is cook up some more explosions.
20 minutes, we start getting fire. 24 minutes, we start getting...
It was like right on cue.
If this replay is anything to go by, the ballistic bust will have been lucky to escape without taking a hit. But it seems like Cool Cat Barry has 9 lives.
I mean, I don't see any big pieces in him now, but I have to say I'm pretty convinced by this explosion due to the fact that the shards are much bigger than we've seen.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're all over the place.
So, how's this first scenario? Guy puts a lava lamp on. It's taken 20 minutes. Obviously, you know, you're gonna get bored sitting there watching it. He walks away, all of a sudden smells the smoke, hears all the spewing, comes in to turn it to low, and then it explodes.
So he's leaning over.
Look at CSI Carrie.
Yeah.
Okay, but where to from here? Keep exploding lava lamps until they get a direct hit? Or ramp things up a little?
So our next scenario that we're gonna try is the experimental one. We're gonna try to get that cap so it's solid on top of the bottle and see if we can't get more of a compression and explosion and maybe get a fracture from this bottle that would have created the shards that killed him.
To improve the bomb-like qualities of the lamp, Tori seals the cap, but not very well.
Whoa!
That's it. Epoxy gave up.
Darn it.
With the lava lamp contents escaping, they decide to stage an intervention. A squirt of cold water from a spray gun should help things along.
The theory was the shock of the cold water would cause the glass to fracture.
Look on your face was priceless. All right, let's go see how he survived or not. Whoa!
Now that is a result.
Don't touch it! Don't touch it!
That's crazy.
That is a result. You know, I think eventually given the number of bottles that we had, we probably would be able to get a result like this without having secured the bottle cap on there. It seems to me that it's just luck of the draw. Every time we had a lot of energy behind the explosion. I think it's just a matter of time before we get one that's mortal.
All right, so exploding lava lamp, what's the verdict?
I think we have it confirmed.
Yeah, we show that there's enough energy in a lava lamp being heated up on the stove to throw a shard of glass at lethal velocity into the body.
And I think my scenario as to why the stove was on low and why he was leaning over it when it exploded is actually really plausible.
So MSI San Francisco have confirmed the details of this tragic story. And if this isn't a warning to always read the safety instructions, nothing is. But the kitchen pyrotechnics ain't over yet.
You know what? I don't think we can stop right here. One, we haven't had enough explosions. Two, there are a lot of products that people might be tempted to heat up on a stovetop, like a can of beans.
I could go with that. What about, like potted meat? That's in a can.
There you go.
Baby formula.
I mean, there's a lot of things we can keep testing.
Yeah. You know, as a public service to our viewers.
Exactly.
Jamie and Adam have been testing Tesla's earthquake machine for days, and the Richter scale is showing a big fat 0. There have been a few good vibrations,
Scoobity, wah, wah, wah.
but certainly nothing like the results Tesla boasted about in his twilight years. After a lifelong feud with Edison and in deep financial trouble, the Serbian-born inventor made some outrageous claims. He was still producing great work, such as the first principles for radar, but he also suggested he could build a death ray capable of destroying 10,000 enemy airplanes. And of course, he famously claimed that with a few well-timed explosions, he could split the Earth in two, like an apple. But Tesla's claims and the results so far are a world apart.
So we're a little bit stuck because the designs that Tesla drew out don't seem to really work too well. I mean, we might eventually get there, but I understand Grant has a device that might speed things up a little bit.
Okay, you ready? Here we go. Okay.
That's it, Jamie. That's what we wanted to build.
It's an electromagnetic linear motor, and Tesla will be smiling in his grave.
This is precisely what Tesla's describing in his patent. I mean, he says he doesn't care exactly how you achieve that movement, but that it's frictionless. You could potentially do it with a magnetic coil, even though he suggested an air cushion. I mean, this is it.
This is it.
This is not dissimilar from Jamie's morning workout routine. Amazingly, Grant turns out to have in his possession for an outside consulting gig exactly the motor that we need. It's driven by magnets, which Tesla posited was possible and a reasonable way to do this machine. I cannot wait to get going on that thing.
Grant's actuator is so perfect that with a simple clamp to the 20-foot bar, it's ready to go.
Now we're getting something here.
Yeah, it's starting to rock.
With a computer-controlled accuracy of 1/100th of a hertz, something Tesla could only dream of,
I got something.
they're having much more success fine-tuning Grant's almost frictionless motor to the steel bar's natural frequency.
That's gonna make it fall off.
It's losing energy when it's dropping. Put your foot on it and stop it from hopping up and down. Let's see if we can build the energy. I mean...
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, see?
Oh my God.
Holy crap. Dude!
My box, let's stop it.
Okay, stop it.
Stop it.
It's about tuning the amount of vibrations per second precisely to what the bar needs. It's that every time the bar flexes, when it comes back up, that you're hitting it, boom, right at the top of that arc. And again, it goes back down, it comes back up, and bang, you're hitting it right at the top of that arc. That timing is absolutely critical to this. And we saw that once you get that timing right and you eliminate the ability of the bar to move and bounce and lose its energy, the deflection was just diabolical.
I can't, with all my weight standing in the middle of this, deflect it
as much as it was being deflected by this actuator, which only weighs, what, like 5 pounds?
Well, we got some results from our first test, but we didn't get anything like what Tesla described as far as this atom-by-atom destruction.
And he said one thing he did was bolt it to an iron bar, and the other thing he did was bolt it to his building. And maybe we're going to get a lot more response out of this device if we bolt it to a scale model of Tesla's actual lab. Let's build a scale version of 48 East Houston Street, where his lab was, and try the device out on that.
So, scale testing it is. And a quick research break ensures they have accurate mini blueprints, not just for size, but also structural integrity and material strength. Then, with judicious use of the fast forward button, Adam and Jamie have a replica of Tesla's lab built in no time at all.
I'm going to suffer for that tomorrow.
We have our 1/6 scale version of Tesla's building. Now we have to have a 1/6 scale of Tesla's resonator.
This microcassette recorder fits the bill perfectly. And once it's attached to one of the scaled-down steel beams, they're ready to go.
We should match the oscillation of your device to the sound of this thing rocking back and forth, then we'll get really close to the resonant frequency, okay? That's pretty darn good. All right, then I think we should just let it sit for a while. Tesla said nothing happened at first.
Okay.
Now, this building is pretty much exactly scaled to a large 5-story steel or iron structured building in New York City, around about the mid-1800s. And from what we know from the mechanical engineers we talked to, the materials properties ought to scale along with the material. So this is a terrific attempt to see if Tesla's device could have any effect on a large, full-size building.
But despite Adam's confidence in the test parameters, the Earth and Mini Jamie are unmoved.
Let's give Grant a call.
Yeah, we need to go bigger. Of course, if we use Grant's device, scale is going out the window. This isn't even remotely what you would consider pocket-sized in scale in something like a car.
But even with the scale equivalent of an oscillating car and hours of tuning and tweaking, there's no evidence of destruction. And Adam and Jamie find much the same when they look into the official geological records.
Like any good myth, this one has a couple of different versions. Tesla claimed variously that his earthquake machine did its damage in either 1887 or in 1898.
Well, I looked through the USGS records, and there was, in fact, an earthquake in 1887 in New York State, but it wasn't in New York City, so it couldn't have been Tesla's.
And in fact, there was an earthquake centered in New York City, but it was 1884, a full year before he moved into East Houston Street.
So the myth is on extremely shaky ground. But desperate to give Tesla his due, Adam has one last test up his sleeve.
I think that it's the final piece de resistance of this myth. We take your linear actuator out to a big steel structure like a bridge. We try it on that, then we can call this one busted.
You get me the bridge, I'll be there.
Tori, Grant, and Carrie have solved the exploding lava lamp mystery. But MSI has case files on a number of other stovetop myths. Are there more products lurking in the kitchen cupboards that can kill? And if so, what are they? The team won't rest until they find out.
So this is the classic story of somebody has a tin of beans. He doesn't have a bowl, so he's going to decides he's going to heat it up straight on the stove. Forgets to open up the lid. The pressure builds, and it explodes.
I think you're right, dude.
Beans. Not as exciting as the lava lamp, this can of beans.
But where there's heat, beans, and pressure, there's always an explosion.
Oh, dang it! That was disgusting.
Disgusting, but I bet you want to see it again.
Oh, this is so gross. Look at that. Oh my God, it's in the shape of a can. That was awesome.
So the pop top popped, and there was a stinky eruption. But it wasn't exactly lethal. Next.
Okay, so this time we're gonna use a bigger can of beans. It's the kind of can that you actually need a can opener to get into the beans. So it doesn't have the pop top with the little tab. So hopefully it's gonna take a lot more pressure to make this explode.
The heat's on, so all they've got to do is sit tight, wait for the boom, and avoid getting arrested by the pun police.
Ah, Bean there. Yeah, Grant likes being safe. This has been the funniest day. The unbearable likeness of Bean. You've been warned. Hey, Tori, what's been going on?
Half an hour into the experiment, and the bean can is yet to blow. The MythBusters, well, they're still monkeying around.
Oh my God!
I can taste beans in the air.
Yeah.
Now you see it, now you don't.
I mean, this could potentially kill you. That's like a little
Absolutely.
cannonball of beans.
Next, it's a pop gun of potted meat.
You were right. Look at that. It's in a block.
And it's cooked. Let's eat.
What do we got next?
Well, the list says a mortar of milk.
It doesn't look too aggressive. It looks like it's just slowly leaking out.
Oh!
Nice.
It was a milk rocket.
That was great.
Oh, look, and there's a huge shard of glass going right into the ribs.
Oh, gross.
So that was not only a successful explosion, but a potentially deadly explosion.
Which leaves just one item on the team's to blow up list. The mother of all lava lamps, Big Bertha.
So quiet. A little too quiet.
Barry the ballistics bust is having a tough day. Hot beam cannonballs, glass shrapnel, and now, because of the team's impatience to get a big boom, a gas burner.
Oh man, look at the dummy in the back. He just sliced his shoulder. He's slumping.
He's heard the proverb, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen.
I hope he doesn't fall into the lamp.
Oh, that would suck.
But without legs, getting out is not an option.
No! Oh, no! No!
Oh.
Oh!
Okay, it's still intact.
Oh,
Dang.
he pulled a rib out.
We just have to wait for it to cool down. We can't shoot it with a fire extinguisher.
It'll break it.
It'll break it.
Sabotaged by our own ballistic dummy.
There's a bubbling bomb of lava that requires handling. And when there's something strange in the neighborhood, who else you gonna call?
Don't get blowed up.
Okay, I'll see you in a bit.
Of course, Tori did wait until Big Bertha had cooled, making it safe to handle. He may be renowned for his safety-defying stunts, but he ain't stupid.
It's looking pretty good. It seems to be intact. All in one piece.
But not for long.
It was almost in slow motion.
Wow, those are giant pieces.
Oh my God, that was so cool.
Wow.
The pieces that came off that were definitely like spears. They were huge. All right, let's wrap up our day with results. What do we get for the lava lamp?
Lethal. Lots of energy, lots of shrapnel.
Can of beans.
Well, depending on the size of the tin that you're using, I would say it's definitely lethal, especially to you, possibly your neighbors.
Okay, how about the can of potted meat?
Probably not lethal, but very messy.
And finally, the milk in the jar.
The milk in the jar, I guess the only way it could kill you is if you had your head and you were looking directly down at it. It could be lethal.
Okay, so I guess we've learned something here today. Don't put anything on the stove unless you have a pressure release.
Tesla's earthquake machine has proved to be a test of Jamie and Adam's patience and working relationship. But Adam has insisted they try one last experiment.
You get me the bridge, I'll be there.
And what a bridge.
We're on the Carquinez Bridge. Now, this is obviously a huge steel structure. This was built circa 1927. So As far as a resonant steel structure, this is it. It's quite the structure.
It is.
It is an awesome structure. But when Adam said,
"We promise that if this device works, we will use our powers only for good,"
he was lying. It's time to use Tesla's device to bring the bridge down.
This is intense. Woo.
So all they need to do is find a good spot to attach their earthquake machine, turn it on, and tune it in.
There she goes.
There it is.
The oscillating machine is oscillating.
Increase the amplitude.
And now to tune it to the resonant frequency of the bridge. If they can do that, this giant steel structure will be a pile of rubble in no time at all.
Oh my God! No, I'm just kidding.
Keen-eyed observers will note the guys are actually standing on the bridge they're trying to destroy. Confidence in Tesla's machine isn't exactly sky high.
Now, neither Jamie nor I gives a high percentage to anything occurring out here. Nonetheless, I mean, MythBusters is nothing if not a compendium of ways in which Jamie and I have been wrong. Jamie, come here, feel this. Come here. I feel a vibration that is oscillating here.
I'm gonna freeze it and see whether it stops, okay?
Okay. That's kind of cool.
And
totally stops here. That's freaky.
All of a sudden, this myth is giving Adam and Jamie a good vibe. And it's not the traffic, because that's on a completely separate bridge.
It totally feels like the whole structure is ringing to that hertz. Hold on, I'm gonna go down the ways and see if I can feel it over here. I can totally feel it over here. Wait. I can totally, yep, there it goes.
But the best is yet to come. After some more tuning, they find a sweet spot.
Hold the phone. Oh my God. It feels like a big semi-trailer truck is rolling right by us right now.
And that's only 6 pounds of weight moving 25 times per second.
It actually makes me a little concerned, believe it or not.
I'm totally startled to come out here and find this thing vibrating at the correct frequency to be felt hundreds of feet away from the source. That is totally amazing. Did not expect that.
We were ramping the same weight and the same kind of amplitude of vibration through the whole range of frequencies. And, you know, there's a little vibration, but then I hit that one spot, and all of a sudden it's like, hold on, you know, this is different. Something different was going on with that exact frequency. And, you know, and as a result of that specific frequency, that specific tone that we're getting, this entire bridge is vibrating. Yeah, you can see it. That's over 100 feet away.
Dude, that's 6 pounds.
I know.
I'm a little spooked.
It's official. We have 2 spooked MythBusters and some unexpected results on our hands.
This vibration from this device is traveling significant distances in this structure. But it ain't no earthquake. We've had it running for, I think, somewhere near an hour at this point. And it's not doing anything but just making the vibrations. The vibrations aren't building. We've tuned it up and down to find a really resonance frequency. I think we've hit a real butter zone here, and still this bridge is standing. Do you know that some people think that Tesla was sent back in time from the future to give primitive man the gift of electricity, and that he was an inspiration for Mark Twain's story of Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court?
Well, he was definitely ahead of his time, and you know, he was onto something with this resonance thing. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, but I think we both know where this is going.
Yeah.
It ain't no earthquake.
It's no earthquake. It's totally busted.
Let's go home.
All right. Hey, what do you think if we put a couple 100 pounds on that sucker?